going through and reading her writing, one of the things that have to constantly remind her is use the articles. That's kind of, and particularly Spanish, which is very descriptive and kind of flowing. But it's not. They have different ways of going about the specificity. I'm just going that English is very precise, and to teach it, you have to teach the level of precision. I talk about sequencing, and you sequence words into sentences, sentences into paragraphs, paragraphs into chapters, chapters into books. Well, it all starts with the first word, and everything builds upon that.
It builds on it. Yeah, it's interesting, okay, which drives me crazy because I hate this stuff, okay, because of my own difficulties with dyslexia and stuff, yeah, okay, and technically, those are the things that drove me crazy, and you know, in fact, we have a governor in this state that can't write. He can't put it together. He went through school orally, God bless him, and he had its structure in the supportive network through his family and mother that were allowed for him to get through and achieve in an amazing way.
And you know, congratulations to him. But at the same time, there were certain professions that he could not do.
Yeah, exactly.
And the part of my concern is without the writing skills or the understanding, doing something like technical writing manuals, writing copy about how you go about using a coffee pot. That's a specific skill. It's a specific form of writing. Now, it may not be as imaginative or creative in a sense as what I write, and it's certainly not as imaginative and creative as poetry, but it's along the same lines. You're writing a description of an item, a coffee maker, and what you need to do to be able to make a good cup of coffee. Think about the sequences of steps that you need
to do those things. Exactly right.
It's a sequence.
Yeah, and it's a technical writer that you're talking about that does that. Okay, my daughter, my youngest daughter, that's in the Coast Guard officer, is a technical writer. Her mother was a technical. Okay, they can do those things that drive me crazy, and the discipline it takes to do that. You know?
So part of it, and part of the challenge with WordPress, is that it's a different discipline, and it's very easy to kind of go over the top, like include too much video or include music or too many pictures that distracts from the story. Ultimately, it's all about the story. It's all about what made it interesting to you and what you're trying to convey to the reader. One of the lessons when I teach the English class is a favorite saying of mine from Dr. Stephen Covey: "Begin with the end in mind." Well, in the case of writing, the begin with the end in mind is that somebody's got to read this. You can certainly write for your own benefit, but if you're really writing, then you're writing for someone else to read it. And that's part of the human experience, to express ourselves, to connect with others. So if you're writing and you don't keep that in mind, that, I'm better at it than I used to be, thanks to the help of Mercedes Oliveira, that I used to go off on tangents in my writing. And so Mercedes would say, "Oh, you did it again," and pull me back in or say, "Mike, follow a more linear path." Well, what I'm doing what I tend to do in that case is doing something that I think is funny or of interest to me, but that's me. I'm the person writing for you. And if I do not keep that in mind, that's very self-indulgent, and it also means that what I'm trying to convey gets lost. So the discipline of this now is, how do you go about telling a story in a different way? How do you go about communicating the point that you're trying to make? I was one of the articles I wrote recently was about the case in Texas, the affluenza case.
Right.
About the teenager who comes from a wealthy family
yeah,
and
right.
crashed his car and he killed two people.
Two people, right? For
and
drunk.
For DUI.
DUI,
and it's his second time.
You're right. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you hear the term affluenza and you go, what's affluenza?
Yeah.
It's
I
a
thought it
derived.
was the flu.
Yeah.
Right? Virus?
Sure, absolutely.
It's the, yeah.
Well, it's a derived word, but the derived word means that it's having money is contagious. I wish not in that way, but it's contagious. It's contagious in causing a mental disability to think.
Disability to think. Because you have money.
Because you have money. You're not taught to be considerate of others. You're not taught to recognize the consequences of your actions.
I see. I didn't read that article. I should have read that article.
Well, if you go to my WordPress account,
yeah, I know you got it there. I scanned it. I wanted to read the one on risk. I think.
Okay,
Did you do one on risk?
I wrote a couple on risk.
A couple on risk. Okay,
yeah. Well, a favorite book
piqued my interest, and that's. Go ahead.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. There's a book called Against the Gods, and it's a story of the history of risk.
Okay, right.
And you're going, this has got to be a boring subject, right? Well, one of my favorite classes in my undergraduate college was statistics. And statistics is all about probability.
Probability. Yeah.
Well, risk is, risk is all about probability.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What occurred to me was that risk, we've had the big situation with Edward Snowden and the whole scandal around the NSA, the National Security Agency. Well, that's really a story about risk. And what Snowden did, in one hand, made more people aware of some of the techniques used with the potential of security and intrusion violations. But on the other hand, it's not been told or not being viewed in terms of risk assessment, the risk assessment that the NSA does. And I talk about type 1 and type 2 errors. Well, type 1 error is you assume something to be true and it's false. A type 2 error is you assume something to be false and it's true. Type 1 errors generally are not as damaging as a type 2 error. In the case of 9/11, the type 2 error was that we're not going to be attacked by people from another country. And that turned out to be false, and we wound up with 9/11. Mm-hmm. Well, 9/11 changed the security agency business in that the level of risk that they were willing to take became much smaller.
Smaller, right.
And,
Tightening up.
But there is no such thing as no risk.
No, exactly right.
Okay, is there still a probability of being attacked in that way? Yes.
Absolutely.
So what the NSA did was collect something called metadata from phone calls.
Right.
Now metadata, the term metadata means data about data. What they collected was the outgoing phone number, the ingoing phone number, the frequency of the calls, the length of the call. They did not listen in to the phone calls. They've also collected electronic mail. And given that there is somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 billion electronic mail and text messages that occur every day, no, they're not going through everyone's email and text messages.
Absolutely not. I know it.
Given that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of billions of phone calls made via landline and cellular phone. Cellular is actually somewhat easier to trace. Right. They're not listening into everyone's conversations.
No, exactly.
But the way Snowden made it out to be is that they're spying, they're listening in on everything. And the answer is no, they're not. They can't.
They can't. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It is impossible.
But
exactly.
The question that needed to be raised, and has not been, with the focus on Snowden and his activities, is what level of risk is acceptable to the public.
Yeah.
We all don't want a 9/11 to happen again.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, we don't want the NSA going through metadata.
Going through you, you're exactly right, and you're going to make that balance. Okay, they profile. It's like it's a profile situation,
Yeah.
and you try to explain people like that. You don't want profiling. Profiling works.
Sure.
Very effective. It can be very, very effective.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you say it's an intrusion of rights, it may be limited. It may be a limited intrusion of right, because you're identifying certain things that make up the profile to get the individuals engaged.
Right.
Well, if you don't want that, then you need to accept the risk of the harm that those individuals are going to do. What?
Right.
Simple, to me.
But, and I happened to write about this, and I tried to tie it in later, is around the Boston Marathon bombing.
Exactly.
Okay, when the Snowden situation came up, people said, well, how come the NSA didn't know about the Sarnoff brothers planning to do this? Well, because they were not identified. There was not the profile, there was not the information about the Sarnoff brothers. So they couldn't be identified as potential.
Right.
They basically came out of the woodwork as far as the FBI and the NSA come from. So we're never going to be complete without risk.
Well, the argument on the other side is they could have been. They did. Depending on how far you wanted to profile, they should have been triggered by certain things that they knew. But again, that probably tightens the profile up to an unacceptable level for people, and then would probably infringe on a violation of one's rights. And I mean, that's the difficulty with a democracy. That's with an open society. If you want rights and you want to be able to do the things that we do in this country, you've got a risk factor that you have to live with.
Well, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
It was found out after the fact that they had made YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You're right, exactly.
Now, you and I can go off on rants, so we can make YouTube videos, right?
We do.
Well, we do.
I do. I do.
Well, we go off on rants.
Right.
But and even if we put them on YouTube,
Right.
should we fall under the NSA scrutiny?
Well, I probably do. You
Well,
know.
the FBI probably has folders on both of us somewhere. As far as that goes.
See, to me,
But it's contextual.
yeah, exactly right. It's in the context. To me, I never, I have an associate of mine who, oh man, he believes they're all every place. I say, so what? If you're not doing anything wrong, who cares? Well, what do you care? I don't care. I mean, obviously, I did stuff wrong a long time ago, and I know they would be silly not to take a look at stuff that I might do.
Right.
Yeah, because you're looking for open risk. I was involved with, I happen to be, and not with serious far left crazy people at a certain point in my life, and they were dangerous. So, well, it stands to reason for you to check me out and what's going on.
If
it raises to the level, yeah.
Right, and if it fits the profile.
And if it fits the profile.
Right.
Yeah, but if it doesn't, then,
Yeah, but the assumption is that there is the interest that that they have in wanting to know all this information. And the answer is no, they don't. But they need to use it in order to develop the profile, in order to find out things that will help prevent another attack.
Exactly.
So if there are 200 phone calls from a number in Wyoming to a number in Boston in a given day, and they're all lasting less than 2 minutes, and it's the same two numbers, something's going on there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now, are they going and listening in the phone calls? No. What they're doing is passing the information on to the FBI to go check this out and say, what do you have?
Who is this?
Who is it?
Yeah, where are we? Yeah.
Where are we here?
Where are we here? Exactly. I mean, I don't, Yeah, obviously, I would things where exposure would happen to individuals who are doing security stuff for our country and things like of that nature. I would get concerned with and stuff like that, and which stuff that goes on all the time. Espionage goes on. It's a natural reality of governments and stuff like that. If you don't understand that happens within governments, those are.
Well, but in the case of Snowden, he took it upon himself.
Right.
Now, I view him as kind of doing a fool's errand as far as that goes. You have a 20-something who now is taking it upon himself to be judge and jury about this situation. He also violated the law.
Oh, I got serious problems with him.
He violated the law.
He violated the law. Right.
He signed contracts.
Exactly.
And he went in and he stole critical information. Okay, there are people who say he's a whistleblower. Yes, he is. On the other hand, he did it indiscriminately, and in the course of doing so, he may have compromised American intelligence assets.
Absolutely.
One of the things I talk about, and try and continue to talk about, is the idea of false equivalencies, which is you compare two things and think they're the same. Well, one of to me, a false equivalency in this case is comparing Snowden to the Pentagon files, to the case of
Ellsberg.
Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg.
Daniel Ellsberg.
Right. Okay.
Well, I compare that to the Manning issue.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. I relate Manning's stuff that he did with the military to a level of where Daniel Ellsberg's did. Right.
Well,
I'm not sure where. No. Go ahead.
Oh, I think you got a continuum here. You have Ellsberg, who went about it, who knew what he was doing. First of all, he's an adult.
Yeah, right.
Okay, he found out this information, but he went to his legislators. He went to the senators,
representatives, right,
with this information first.
Exactly right.
And they said, okay, but they didn't do anything. So then he went to the New York Times,
right,
and had it published.
Right.
Okay. And the New York Times and the Washington Post went about doing it in a professional manner. Right. In the case of Snowden, he went and he brought it to Julian Assange, who brought it to Glenn Greenwald. This is not the same as the Washington Post and the New York Times.
No, it definitely is not. No.
Right.
And he didn't bring it to his representatives. And he didn't follow any real procedure.
Right.
Right. And then he took off.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that to me adds up to treason.
It's close. I don't know that it's treason, but it's certainly a degree of weaselness associated with it. He's not a stand-up guy.
No, definitely not. Yeah, exactly right.
Ellsberg was.
Yeah, Ellsberg was absolutely. Yeah.
And the Manning situation gets clouded.
It gets clouded.
By various things and being in the military. So we don't want to go down that route.
No, that's a whole. See, when I think of him, I really get upset because of my children in the military and stuff like that, and I'm not sure that I'm clear-headed on that.
Well, part of the concern and part of the reason why, on the one hand, I'm certainly an advocate for LGBT rights. Right. On the other hand, Manning turns out to be transgender.
Right, exactly right.
Okay, but this is his way of acting out his transgender situation.
Oh, then you're talking about psychological damage there and stuff like that, and where's your brain power? I mean, all these things that when you get into those kind of, and that's where then you get the community of. Mad at you because you say, well, maybe he's a nutbag. Okay, see, this is where we're bringing it all right back. This is where I get upset. Okay, just because an individual is gay, transgender, or whatever, doesn't make them an honorable person.
Doesn't make any other than the sexuality.
Other than the sexuality,
Doesn't
make them no different,
Right.
okay? So people get mad when you say somebody who has got a maybe sexually different than heterosexual, okay, well, you're challenged. No, I ain't challenged in their sexual. I don't care. Like we got this mayor here, and good segue to talk about. We got a gay mayor. Who cares? I don't care. I don't care if he's gay. It doesn't make it. I care about his policy and his politics.
And what he does.
And you know, I've had people say, well, you don't like I say, well, it has nothing to do with that. You know?
Well, one of the things I wrote about in covering this was a story about a friend of mine. One of my close friends in the neighborhood is a Republican. I'm trying to slowly wean him off of thinking of Fox News as a viable news source.
As a viable news source. Legitimate, evolved, right.
I've got him to start watching Rachel Maddow, so as far as that goes.
I love her.
And she's gay, but I haven't told him that.
Oh, you haven't told him that
I haven't told him that. That's as far as but in his situation, I think Massachusetts was going through the situation of the first gay marriages.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this, and he's going about it, and that. And I said, well, did you know that there are gay couples in our neighborhood? He goes, no, there's not. And I go, yes, there are. And he goes, no, they're not. I said, yes, there are. There's 3. So that's the gay couples. And he goes, and I obviously won't say the names, but I said, as far as that goes. And so he went off and he thought about it. And he knew at least a couple of the parties involved, as far as that goes. So
and he liked them.
Yes.
So he likes them.
He likes them.
Yeah, exactly. I know how it goes. Right?
Yeah. So a couple weeks later, we have lunch, and he lets out, I thought about this, and maybe it's not it's like a bad thing.
It's not. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean. This is imagine you and I both brought up Catholic, Roman,
yep.
Okay, and the stuff that the Roman Church is going through is just horrendous, and the proportion of gay people that are in there, and I'm not talking pederast, I'm talking about gay. I mean, why we have a sexual. Gee whiz, you can't be a priest because you are...
Well, you're not supposed to be a member of the Catholic Church, or a practicing member of the Catholic Church if you're gay.
Right, and nobody's changed that stuff yet.
No.
And that's
a gay couple cannot be married in a church.
In the church, you
right.
can't be right. I think all that stuff is outrageous. That's why I'm no longer there. Yeah. I'm non-denominational now and stuff like that. And we look at the new pope, and he can make we shouldn't be concerned with it. On the one hand, and say nice things, but on the other hand, I say you need to be concerned with it because you're talking about 8%, or it's from 3 to 8% of your population that you're supposed to be, that could be gay.
Well, and he is the leader of 1.2 billion people.
1.2 billion
people in the world.
In the world, right.
And the focus of the Catholic Church, you and I are not a big priority to the Catholic Church.
Definitely not.
For various reasons. For a lot of reasons. But part of it is we're American. Okay, the focus of the Catholic Church is on South America.
Absolutely.
And Africa, because there is a greater number of people to become Catholics.
Right.
Well, how do you square the Catholic Church in Uganda? Right? You have the president of Uganda who is going off advocating killing.
Absolutely.
And he thinks gay people are repugnant and
exactly, it's scary.
And if you go, and again, this is part of journalism. If you go and you state the facts that homosexuality occurs throughout the mammal kingdom, there is always been a percentage ranging from 2% to, I believe, upper limit is 8% of whales, of any mammal, mammal species.
Right.
That
scientifically is exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so you can state these facts, But if you're dealing with someone with a closed mind, the facts don't matter. And this is part of the difficulty. It's part of the reason I do what I do, is that they may not know that this occurs throughout nature. They may not know the fact of the 2 to 8%. But if you put it in the context that, gee, if there is between 2 and 8% of males who are gay, that maybe your favorite Major League Baseball player, or maybe your favorite NBA player is
right.
gay.
Is gay. Yeah,
Right.
exactly, right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, absolutely.
So the best thing you can do in writing is to try and get people to think,
yeah,
and to present something from a different point of view or a different perspective. And that's why I do this, because it's along the lines of, it's not only challenging myself, but it's the standpoint of saying, gee, what do people think about this? Or we get involved in situations like fracking. It's like, okay, what can I explain about this so that people understand why this is so serious?
With that, okay, my time, okay, why you write is to make people think, and why we do this show is to make you think, and I want to bless my audience, obviously, for being with us and staying with us. I'm hoping you enjoyed Michael here. I hope we can do it again. We have another show that after you've seen this is going to be on, and we're going to bring on our wonderful Michael Maynard, publisher of Little Red Cell, who's doing that project with me and with Ralph Ham, who's in prison. Ralph Ham will have a new book out. Hopefully, we're going to have his poetry book out. Probably by the 1st of March. That's what we're looking towards. I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Father.
Very, very much for being here with me, Michael. I really enjoyed it. I hope you had fun, and I hope we can do it again.
Okay, I need to put a little plug. Look on WordPress.
This is a big, yeah.
Okay, do a Google search, Michael Maynard in WordPress, and you'll see where my articles are located.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, because I should have done that several times down the line. But yeah, you need to you Google Michael Maynard, and you want to find that WordPress. You'll enjoy it and everything else like that. Very informative, and we'll be talking about Mike as we go on our up and coming shows, because a lot of the interest is about getting people to think. God bless you. Good night. Again, very good for you to be here. My audience, I'll see you in next week, and please stay with us, and thank you again. The Great 22, keep it up. You're doing fabulous work.
Well, I think there's more than 22 out there.
I got a feeling there's more than 22.
Yeah.
I really thank you, all my audience. I really do, for all the support you've done, for all the political stuff that we're doing. And 3/27/14, 5 o'clock, New London Library, no confidence petition against Mayor Finuzio. Be there. Walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. God bless you. The guys can run the street. I'll see you next week. Okay? Take it easy.